Welcome to the PHF Podcast. My name is Michael Babcock. I am the Marketing Communications Coordinator here at Portage Health Foundation. And we are here this month highlighting amazing nonprofits in our four-county community as part of our Giving Tuesday promotion. We've chosen 18 partners that we're working with, and every donation that comes in to these 18 partners, we are matching up to $200,000 total. Pretty exciting times. And this week, or this episode, we were with Melissa Maki from 31 Backpacks, which is an organization that if you live in the Copper Country, you have heard a lot about them over the last few years. It's hard not to, and it's every time you hear about it, it's heartwarming, the work that you guys do, Melissa. So before I say anything else, let's hear about you. What is 31 Backpacks? What do people need to know about this amazing organization?
Well, we were looking at, we actually back about 8 years ago, my mother's sister saw a program on TV, I think it was the Ellen DeGeneres show, about an organization that was providing food for kids on weekends that would normally be at risk for going without. And she called up here and said, you know, you guys should do that. And here we are today. A lot of kids in this area are receiving free and subsidized breakfast and lunch at school, but when they're not in school, that's not happening. So we are filling that gap. We also fill the gap during winter break and spring break, because if you can imagine going 2 days without food, imagine going 9 to 16, which is what they typically run. So that's our mission there, is to make sure the kids have food every single day of the week while they're in school, because, you know, nutrition and education go hand in hand. They're very important to each other.
Yeah, that's something we talk a lot about at the foundation, and our mission is that without food, a lot of these other programs we do are pretty much useless.
Exactly.
People need food, and they need to have healthy food, which is really important. So I want to do a big shout out there to Ellen then. It sounds like Ellen has been made a difference in our community. So hopefully, Ellen, if you're out listening, give us a call. We'd love to have you on the podcast to talk about the amazing work that you guys do in motivating people and inspiring change in our community. With this. So you guys are named 31 Backpacks. Where did that name come from? How did that happen?
Well, in the beginning, we thought we were going to have to supply the actual backpacks, and it turns out that we don't. The Angel Mission primarily takes care of that, not for us, but for the kids. And we were kind of panicking because it was the spring of the year, and kid-sized backpacks aren't readily available at that time. I mean, you can find the super duper, hiking backpacks, but, a 5 or 6 year old doesn't need that. And it was quite a scramble trying to locate those. So the day came around where we were actually meeting with our attorney to incorporate, and we didn't have a name. And we were emailing back and forth with Daryl Pierce, who used to be the superintendent at CLK schools where we started. And we just said to him, they were trying to gather some numbers, and we said, how many backpacks do you think we're actually going to need? And his simple response was 31 backpacks. Now, I can tell you, when we actually started delivering, we were never at that small of a number, but that's where the number came from, and it's stuck.
Yeah, it's catchy. I mean, 31, the whole thing works well. So you guys started just at Calumet schools. Now you serve a lot more than just Calumet, though. What schools do you guys serve now?
We are in all of the schools in Keweenaw, Houghton, and Baraga County. So it is, at this point, around 17 buildings that we deliver to pretty much on a weekly basis. The numbers go up and the numbers go down every week, and the schools are in and the schools are out. Every week this week has been a challenge for everybody involved, but we're working around it as best we can.
Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, that so many schools, so many students. I can't even imagine trying to keep all of that straight. And if this sounds impressive to you out there listening to this, make sure you support this cause. If you go to phfgive.org/Giving Tuesday, we have a donation form there. Like I said at the beginning, up to $200,000 of community donations will be matched by us that are going to go to these organizations. And every donation you make, you choose which organization you want it to go to. So when you make your donation, just simply choose 31 Backpacks when you're actually going on the online form, or if you're going to write us a check, 400 Quincy Street in Hancock, 49930 is our address. Mail it to us. Make sure you write in the memo line that it's going to go to 31 Backpacks and or whoever else you want to support through this. This money makes a huge difference, and I know you guys have been a part of this in previous years. What has this money meant in previous years for your organization?
Well, this money always comes in, right after Thanksgiving and before Christmas. It's a nice boost for us to have for that winter pack we were talking about. That costs us, in excess of $20,000. for the winter break, and then again for the spring break. So that's money that we love to see. It's a nice cushion for us to know that we can continue to do what we're doing. And we are going to continue to do the winter break this year. I mean, things are going to be completely different, but the money's still needed. We're going to be working with the skeleton crew, but we'll get it done somehow.
Yeah, it seems to be every time I've ever talked to you guys about anything, it seems to be that way. It's we don't know how we're going to do it, but we're going to do it. And tell me a little bit about how that works. I mean, obviously, you guys have a lot of people in the community that are jump up to support you guys. What does that mean to have those people do that work?
We call it our army. I would say on a monthly basis, we're probably hovering between 50 and 100 people per month that help us out. We pack weekly. And that usually is, we rotate groups of people through so that nobody's getting burnt out, because the first year there was a lot of that. And we have team leaders, we have a fleet of drivers. So your contribution, physically is extremely important, and you can certainly contact us for opportunities. Our weekly packs are pretty standard as far as scheduling goes, dependent on weather. And of course, dependent on the pandemic and what's going on with which schools are in session and which aren't. We are still fully delivering to schools right now, regardless of what's going on, and distributions are being made at the school level. The other thing that we like to count on is the contributions, monetary contributions from the community. We do buy all of the products that we distribute. Very, very rarely is something contributed to us that is a food product, or a personal hygiene product. We do supply those as well. I don't know if people know that with the Bridge card or SNAP, you are not able to buy personal hygiene products or cleaning products. So we cover that end of it as well. So monetary donations are extremely important. Because we are a 501c3, we are qualified to buy from the food bank here in Houghton, and the bulk of our food comes from there. What we can't get, you'll see us posting every once in a while. About once a week, we're at Econo cleaning out the fruit department. Sorry. And Louise has been extremely helpful with us too, filling in some gaps for us. And not only do we buy for them, but they deliver it right to my pantry and put it on my shelves. So that is tremendous for us. So your money, when it comes to us directly, it goes a lot further because of our purchasing power, and we're buying things in bulk. So we always like to say cash is king. We can do a lot more with cash than individual food products. The other thing that we have to look at on a weekly basis is we have kids that are ranging, from 5 up to through the high school level. And we do break down the bags. They're color coded for smaller kids and the bigger kids. The bigger kids get some more food. But especially with those smaller kids, we don't know who is getting which bag and what their level of capability is going to be in preparing it. Do they have to prepare it for herself? A big shocker when we first started is a lot of households don't have can openers, for example. So we're very specific about what it is that we send home. It is very healthy stuff by American standards. The kids get 3 pieces of fruit every week. They also get a fruit cup, granola bars, oatmeal, that sort of thing. But again, we do have to look at who our client is and who we're serving.
Yeah, that's all this stuff is incredible, and one of the things that I was impressed with there that you said is the partnerships you guys have. And I want to hear a little bit more about the schools. How does that partnership work with the schools? How do you get involved with them, and how, what kind of relationship do you have with those different schools?
Well, transportation in most of the programs that you're supporting is a huge factor, and I should say lack of transportation and getting things out to people. So we do coordinate with the schools because that's where the kids are. And like we talked about earlier, we started off at CLK schools. That's the district that's furthest north. It's also the largest. And once we got comfortable with them, then we moved on to Lake Linden and then Dollar Bay and so on and so forth, and started adding and adding and adding. But what we do on a weekly basis after the bags are packed, we have a fleet of drivers that deliver tubs to the schools. And then those bags, and they're actually grocery bags, are delivered to the kids and put in their lockers while they're in class. We like our program to remain anonymous as far as the kids are concerned, because bullying is always a concern for us, and that's a priority to keep it as anonymous for the kids as possible. Although they do self-identify from time to time, which is nice to see, and getting feedback, we appreciate that too.
Yeah, absolutely. All of it just really impressive. And if you want to support this effort with 31 Backpacks, again, you make your donation at phfgive.org/Giving Tuesday. We're going to be matching those donations up to $200,000. So, Melissa, my next question is, obviously your first experience with this organization was helping to found it. So that kind of is a little bit out there. But tell me about the first time that you really had a moment where you're like, oh my gosh, we're doing really good work here. This is important.
I guess the first moment that we realized what we were doing is, making some good in the community is, kids have a way of, finding food when they're going hungry. And a lot of it is taking things from the cafeteria and putting it in their backpacks to take home for the weekends. So the fact that we're going into their backpacks and putting food in there, when we started getting reports that there was no like squirreling away of food, that they knew that they could depend on us to be there, that was the first indication that things were going right. Since then, we've had, some kids go on to graduate, and they've gotten full scholarships. Some have joined the military. They're out in the community working now, and they have really nice jobs. And like I said, sometimes they come back after the fact and talk to us about how that touched their lives. So that's the feedback that we get. Occasionally we get some notes that are left in the lockers that are forwarded to us too, and that's always sweet to see that.
Yeah. And one of the things you mentioned earlier, that when the audio was a little bit iffy at times, was that you guys are 100% volunteer based at this moment, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, there's just the amount of work you guys have to do, and how basically if the volunteer work for everybody is really impressive. What keeps you going? What drives you? 8 years in, with at this point no end in sight. You guys are continuing to do this, and when times got hard during a flood 2 years ago, you stepped up in big ways, and now it's even harder with a global pandemic. What drives you and your organization to keep going?
Well, our ultimate goal is to not have to have an organization. Wouldn't that be a great day?
Right.
But, when you're getting the stories coming in, you're making a difference in kids' lives. And, when things happen like the flood and when the shutdown originally happened in March, a lot of people are one paycheck away from financial disaster. And that's what we were looking at too, is, all of a sudden that income was gone. Our numbers jumped. Right before spring break, we were at 225 kids, and then we jumped to 2,100 plus. And we did sustain over the summer. That's the first time that we've done that. But you look at, again, these are your friends, these are your neighbors, these are people it's just someone around the corner and down the street. How can you walk away from something like that, and turn your back on a neighbor, so to speak? So, we keep going. It's something that you can't really step away from, because obviously the need here in the community is great.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear. You've just said you had 10 times growth this year.
Yes.
In business, that would be, oh, we're doing great. Business is good. But for a nonprofit, that's really scary.
It is real scary.
And that 10 times growth doesn't come with 10 times revenue growth magically. That makes it that much harder to make that stuff work. What kind of stuff, when you look at it from that perspective, COVID affected you with 10 times growth and how many people you're serving. What else did it affect you guys in terms of, was it harder to find volunteers? Was finances harder to come by, that kind of thing?
Well, the financial picture was probably our biggest concern. With COVID, we actually were limiting our volunteers over the summer as much as possible. Normally, we don't sustain over the summer because schools are not in session. We did sustain the summer, over the entire summer. And what we did is, first we asked George Stakera at CCISD what's the most important thing? What do people need right now? What do these kids need? And it was personal hygiene products. So we got that, we brought that in, we broke it up and distributed, had the school districts pick up and distribute it to their kids. Then we moved on back to food again. And we broke the school districts up into 2 different groups so that we wouldn't completely deplete the community's resources at the food bank. But we had one group of schools come in 1 week and the other group come in 2 weeks later when the next truck arrived, and had the school districts actually shop for their students. You take what you need for your students, you take it back to your schools and distribute, and we will foot the bill. So the money was the biggest thing. The resources were there, but the money was the biggest thing. And doing this with the food bank, it was basically my mother and I, and 1 or 2 people from each school, and we had them timed separately so that there was very, very minimal contact. When we went back into our regular school year mode where we were delivering weekly, we did place restrictions with the universities that were having large outbreaks. We stuck with just a core group of volunteers at that point until things kind of settled down. But their help has been just tremendous, both Finlandia, excuse me, and Michigan Tech. But yeah, as minimal contact as possible. When we do our weekly packs, we are doing temperature checks. Everybody's wearing a mask. Everybody signs in. We know who's there and when they were there and that sort of thing. So we can do any contact tracing if need be. Fortunately, we haven't had that problem. But again, with people coming in contact with COVID, every week is another challenge because that team captain's in quarantine or that, team leader, has been in contact with somebody and just playing it safe and that sort of thing. So it's a curveball every single week.
Yeah. And where you guys do these packs at usually?
We actually operate, our pantry is at Glad Tidings Assembly of God in Hancock, and that's on Ingot, 601 Ingot. When we first started and we took a delivery from the food bank, meaning they load up your vehicles and then you're on your own, we loaded it into our house and we thought, we'll just put it downstairs. We have a beautiful walkout basement. Well, I can tell you the staircase is 15 stairs. I made that trip 36 times up and down and said, we can't do this. We just can't do this.
It's not 31 stairs, it's 31 backpacks, right?
Exactly. So we started thinking, where else can we do this? And we thought, churches, for the most part, they're in session on Sunday. And a lot of them have Bible groups on Wednesday evenings. That is pretty par for the course with religious organizations. But the rest of the week, they're kind of sitting idle. So we started thinking about what church in the area do we think would cooperate with us that is perhaps newer and doesn't have a basement where I have to go up and down the stairs 36 times and not make a dent. And Glad Tidings is one of those schools that fit the bill. It's on 1 floor. So rolling the carts in and out is a tremendous help. And they donate the space to us. They donate, heat and electricity and running water and all that sort of thing. We just couldn't beat that scenario.
One of the things that has been just a tremendous theme throughout everything you're talking about is partnerships. We've got schools, we've got the church community, we've got private businesses, we have the food bank, and those are just the top level partnerships that are vital. I'm sure if we keep talking, we'll find more and more partnerships, and it's one of the things that makes our community so strong. When we say Copper Country Strong, it's things like that. Every group in our community is tied together and making sure that everybody's helping each other do the work that they need to do. And I just love hearing that that kind of thing. And my next question is kind of giving me, and I love to think about this. When you think about your 8 years of this organization and what you guys have been able to do, what's one story that really sticks out to you? And of course, we've talked about how privacy is important, and there might be students we don't want to mention names or even school necessarily if you don't want to get into that. But I'd love to hear one great success story of you guys making a difference in someone's life.
Oh, you're going to make me cry. When we first
Giving
started,
Tuesday is all about that. It's about
I know
stories that motivate, because people don't know, and I can't wait to hear it.
I put the waterproof mascara on. When we first started out, we had a meeting with Daryl Pierce at CLK schools and the principals and the social workers at the schools to talk about what it is that we can do, what we can provide, what do they need, how can they help us out, and that sort of set up how our collaboration goes with the schools. That was the first one to jump on board and what they were willing to do. So in this meeting, one of the principals at CLK Elementary, told us a story about one of the little girls that was in the school there. And the kids are not supposed to be taking food out of the cafeteria at all. That's just a no-no. And that's pretty much in every school. They don't want it, all over the hallways and stuff. But one Friday, it was Taco Friday. Kids were having tacos in the cafeteria. And she noticed that there was a trail of taco fillings from the cafeteria all the way down the hallway. It went past her office, and she followed that trail, and she found the actual locker where it was. And she looked in there, and the little girl whose locker it was, she had been carrying handfuls of loose taco filling and putting handfuls of it in her backpack. And the principal, approached her and said, "What is going on? Why are you doing this? You're not in trouble. I just want to know what is going on." And she said, Mrs. King, I have to have some food for the weekend for her and her little brother. So,
Yeah.
I told you we don't see the squirreling going on anymore. And that's primarily what we're talking about, is kids sneaking the stuff out of the cafeteria and putting it in their backpacks so they can feed both themselves and maybe younger siblings at home that are not in our program because they're not in school.
Yeah, I did not picture that squirreling to be quite so literal.
Yeah.
With a squirrel literally leaving the food behind on the path. It's impressive stuff, and I think that our entire community is really proud to have you guys a part of our organization, a part of our community. Providing the food and services that you guys do for everybody. I want to do a couple of quick shout outs related to Giving Tuesday. Again, if you want to make your donation, phfgive.org/Giving Tuesday. We'll be matching up to $200,000 in donations to our 18 different nonprofit partners, including 31 Backpacks. When you make your donation, make sure you mark down which organization you are supporting. Just click the box for 31 Backpacks, and we'll make sure that money goes there. 100% of your donation goes to them. We even cover the credit card fees. So if you make a $100 donation, there's a credit card fee associated with that. We just cover that whole thing to make sure that money goes straight to these nonprofits. I do want to make a quick shout out to a couple of our restaurant partners. Next Tuesday, on Giving Tuesday itself, we're going to be having a bunch of restaurant partners that jump on, and they're going to be committing a proportion of their sales to the different Giving Tuesday nonprofit partners. The two I want to give a shout out to right now are Need to Cook and Teach to Taste. And I've partnered these up together because both of them are at home bakeries, and they are going to be producing a percentage of their sales. I think it's 10% for both of them. And you're going to make your order on Giving Tuesday itself, and they will have your food ready on Saturday at the market in Calumet. So look for those organizations, Need to Cook and Teach to Taste. If you go to phfgive.org/Giving Tuesday, we'll have the dining guide information there, so you can learn how you can make your order with them and get some wonderful, delicious food. I actually had some of the Teach to Taste stuff at the farmer's market a few weeks ago. I went up there and had a couple of her tasty treats. So make sure you get out and support those businesses, in part because these businesses are also having a tough year. It's not just the nonprofit community that's been struggling. And this is a nice way to make sure you're supporting both the nonprofits and our restaurant community. And if you're interested, if you have a restaurant, know somebody that owns a restaurant and want them to participate, phfgive.org/Giving Tuesday. There's information on how you can sign up to make sure your restaurant is highlighted with Giving Tuesday. And with that, I want to get back to you, Melissa, and ask you one final question here. And it really, it's, obviously these money donations, and as you said, money is huge. And to make it so you guys can do what you can do. But it takes an army of people, as you mentioned. How can people get out and support your cause?
Well, obviously, with Giving Tuesday would be a great way to do it. But we collect, we're fundraising around the clock, year round, basically. You can certainly visit our Facebook page. There's always a donate button floating around there. PayPal. You can mail a check to us. A lot of people are not into the electronic giving, which I understand. You can mail to, our mailing address is 1100 Century Way, Suite C as in cat, and that's in Houghton, Michigan, 49931. It's not unusual if you see us out on the street, you'll see the logos on our own vehicles. And when we're doing 31 Backpacks business, we do have our credentials on, so it's not unusual for people to just hand me cash. And that blows my mind. Like they don't want any, receipt or recognition or whatever. So we'll certainly do that too. Again, if you want to volunteer some of your time, because not everybody has the capability of donating cash, you can certainly, again, contact us on Facebook via Messenger, or our email address is 31backpacks@gmail.com, and that's the number 31 backpacks@gmail.com. And we look forward to hearing from you. We have something basically for everybody. Some people say, I can't lift anything, I can't carry anything. Well, if you can count, we've got you in. So we've got something for everybody.
And I've been to one of those packs before. They are a blast. The atmosphere is phenomenal. It's a bunch of people happy to help, and you guys have done a great job creating that volunteer army that is excited to be out there and helping.
Yeah, and like we say with the time contribution, it is so minor. People say I'm so busy and everything, but I mean, an hour a week, an hour a month, it all makes a difference for us, and it makes a difference for the kids in the program.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Melissa, for joining us on the podcast. And if you guys are new to the podcast, you can find it on wherever you find podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartMedia, wherever you listen to podcasts, we're probably there. The videos of this are also posted on our YouTube channel if you want to go on there, and you can find it that way. And Melissa, again, thank you so much for everything you guys do. If you want to support They're Doing Backpacks, phfgive.org/givingtuesday, make your donation. And yeah, thank you so much, Melissa. We will talk to you again soon.
All right. Thank you.